Some subjects in this episode may be upsetting to some listeners. Viewer discretion is advised. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the J and JPJ. I don't know why I yelled that so loud then. What? What is going on? It is it's another fine Tuesday morning for me. It's a Monday night for JPJ, but for you guys listening, it's Thursday. Favorite day of the week. Who doesn't love a good Thursday? I don't know, Thursdays, they're not really my favorite day of the week. I can tell you that. I usually work on a Thursday.
I usually don't.
Oh, so you like Thursdays?
I do like Thursdays. Not my favorite day of the week by far. No, I wouldn't say it's, but it is usually a set day off for me. So.
It's weird because Thursdays are like, you're so close to the weekend, but you still got another day. You know what I mean? Like you still got to get it through Thursday, then through Friday. And then it's, I mean, weekends for us though aren't really weekends.
I was going to say, we both work in the retail department. So weekends are
not really a thing.
I don't even know I've never had, besides like requesting a weekend off or like having a vacation that involves around a weekend. I've never experienced what a Monday through Friday or just a weekend off type thing is.
I think I like you, unless I request it off, I don't get it. But something that is good for me is every second week I get Friday, Saturday off.
That's not bad. That's not a bad gig.
Yeah.
So every other week, basically, you get
so what I do one weekend where I do like Saturday, Sunday, and then the opposite weekend I have Friday. I don't work Fridays ever. I always have Fridays off. I never work Fridays.
Have off, though.
Yeah, I agree. And then so one week I'll have like Friday and Monday off, and then the next week I'll have Friday and Saturday off.
That's nice.
So my weekend is like Friday, Saturday. Every second.
That's not bad though, because you can plan, and especially if you don't have to go in until like late on that Sunday, like if you have a late shift on that Sunday.
Yeah, I usually don't start till like 2 p.m. or something.
Like,
yeah,
you get out of work on Thursday and you're like, all right, like I can actually like have a weekend. I can go plan a trip, and as long as I'm back or whatever, like that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Friday, Saturday. You would never.
I rarely get the 2 days back to back off. That's a very rare occasion.
I go crazy if I don't. I go freaking insane if I don't have 2 days back, because one day is not enough. It's like it's the worst because you can't do anything because you're like, I got to work tomorrow, and you work yesterday. So even sometimes when I don't do anything on the Friday, Saturday, like one day is to get all like my shit around the house done, and then the next day is just nothing. It's just a nothing day. Yeah, and I can stream, I can do what I need to do, and whatever. So. That's kind of nice, I guess.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Here we are just talking about work rosters. Here, when can we have a day off? It's just like...
Correct.
Isn't that awful as an adult?
I was telling you before we hopped on here that like I have Thursday through the weekend off, like I requested, because Christmas is coming in a couple weeks. I have some time, and my boss was basically like, yo, pick one of the first 2 weekends in December and like take it off.
Before
go somewhere or just rest or whatever, because Christmas week and the week before is going to be insane. So
and the week after, to be completely honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
some people think like, you've got Christmas week and that's it. It's like, no, it's like 3 really, but 2 solid weeks of like from the week before Christmas all the way up until after New Year's is really when it's like the craziest time. Because some people think, you get up to Christmas Eve and then it's done. And it's like, no, because then you shut for Christmas and then you
and Christmas is on a Saturday this year, so like that's a full work week. We don't get that like day off in the like that's a Monday through Friday, like full work week. You get Christmas off, and guess what? We're back at it bright and early Sunday the day after, and then there's a whole nother holiday we're building towards the next week with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
And you don't necessarily get New Year's Day off because we all open.
My store's open both of those.
The only 2 days we close for the year at my store is Good Friday and Christmas Day. They're the only 2 days of the year that we
close on Good Friday.
Well, Good Friday over here, most things close.
Huh. Yeah, I live in America, and
not everything. I'm not saying everything is closed, but for most retail stores, Good Friday is not a day that they open. But Christmas for everybody, pretty much everywhere, unless it's like a we'd say a petrol station here, but gas station.
Hospitals, gas stations.
Yeah, stuff like
things
that.
that need to be open.
Like that.
Open.
They're like 24/7. They never shut. Like they don't have a day where they
Yeah.
shut, which is insane. I couldn't imagine going to work on Christmas Day. I couldn't do it.
Well,
Some
my
people do.
company that I work for, which will remain nameless,
Mhm.
we have stores that are open on Christmas.
Mhm.
I do not work in one of those stores that is open on Christmas.
Well,
I've
that's
had to
good.
work Christmas for my company a few times. It's volunteer only though, so you
Yeah.
have to volunteer for it.
Definitely.
And to help people out, I did a few times, but normally like Christmas is like, just let me be with my family and chill.
Mhm.
But I've had customers yell at me before because we weren't going to be open on Christmas.
Oh,
So
trust me.
that's
So do
always
I.
fun.
I've had customers
you're
come in
not
and
open?
go,
No, we're not.
"Oh, you're not
Yeah,
open Christmas Day?" Yeah, we never have been. Oh, but you did last year. No.
No.
Oh, is this because of that
my
COVID? Is this because of that COVID thing? No, it's not.
No, we're never open on Christmas. I also love the people that like on a holiday they'll come in and they'll be like, "Real shame you guys are working." I'm like, "Yeah, you know why I am? Because your ass is standing in front of me right now. That's why I'm working.
Yep.
I wouldn't be working if you could.
Oh,
do
so
what
it's
we
so busy
serve
in here. Why
at
is
home for the
everyone
day."
shopping? Well, it's Christmas.
So busy, man. What's going on?
Oh, it's so busy. Why is everyone shopping? Well, you're adding to it.
Yeah,
You're
well, you're
here.
here. You're part of it.
So maybe that's why. Oh, we have to queue. Well, yeah. It's Christmas. Of course, you're gonna have to queue and wait in line. Why don't you open more checkouts? Because we have
I
them all
almost
open.
feel like, and I think, I've talked about this. I think maybe you and I might have like off air, but I've definitely said this a bunch of times. I truly think that it should be a requirement that at some point in everybody's life, they have to work a customer service job.
Yes.
To truly understand.
And stop fucking like demeaning people for working in those jobs because they're some of the hardest jobs ever. We were the only ones open when everyone else shut during the pandemic.
This is what I was going to say.
I kept my job.
Mm-hmm. You know who helped run our countries last year?
Yeah.
When nobody could, and don't get me wrong. We don't work in hospitals.
No,
we're not frontline work. Like
no.
That's different. That is different.
Definitely.
But do you know who kept America running? And Australia running and all these countries running? It was essential workers. It was people that worked in supermarkets, worked in coffee shops, worked in restaurants.
And I'll add a key word in there is overworked in those times.
Oh, overworked for sure.
We were doing days and days and days.
Even through a pandemic. Not everybody, because there are plenty of good customers out there. I'm sure
there's see more good than bad
every day. 100%. But even through a pandemic, going through all that, there were still customers that treated my workers, me, friends. I know you had some things we've talked about, a couple of stories, like absolute dog shit.
Yeah, I got spat on in the pandemic. It was disgusting.
Ridiculous. Like that is all. I'm just saying, everybody at some point, whether it's for friggin' 2 weeks or a month, I don't give a shit. But everybody at some point should have to work in some sort of retail customer service facing job so they can truly understand. Like one of the big arguments that's been forever over here is about minimum wage.
Oh yeah, it's very different here. You guys, I feel for you guys.
Yeah, so it's one of the hugest arguments, and one of the rhetoric, one of the oldest friggin' lines that everyone says, "Oh, what do you think? The kid flipping my burgers deserves $15 an hour?" And I always say, he's not getting $15 an hour because flipping burgers is hard. He's getting $15 an hour because he has to deal with your ass every day.
It's not the actual job.
That's why I used to work he deserves $15 an hour.
I used to work at Subway. That was my first ever job. I was a sandwich artist.
I was going to say, were you an artist?
I was a sandwich artist. The job itself, great stuff. I didn't mind the job. Like the actual work of Subway, like what you had to do at Subway was fine. But dealing with people and dealing with food at 15 years old, when, let's be honest, JPJ, at 15 years old, you don't give two shits about people. You're there to make your little bit of money after school. That's all you were there to do. Like you didn't care about this job. I worked there for 2 years and I quit after 2 years because I'm like, this is just not worth it. I was going through like my senior years at school. Like I didn't fucking need this shit. Like I didn't need to yeah, the money was cool to have, but I was just wasting it. When you're 15 years old, you just waste it on shit anyway. You don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because you just have money for the first time in your life, so you're like, I'm going to spend this shit. But, you know, I was living with my parents at this time. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. But then, you know, going in from working with food, I don't think I could ever do again, personally. Like fast food, I guess you would call Subway fast food. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the healthy alternative.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, all right. It's still bread. But you know, I could never work in a McDonald's or something like that. I think that would be hell. I've seen how that place operates, and I'm like, I would not thrive in this environment at all. I don't work well. I work well when I'm on my own, and I can worry about my own little bit. But like, they're just like stepping over each other. I never ever, even if something's wrong, if I go to McDonald's or KFC, whatever I go to, even if something's wrong, I'm always very kind to those staff members, because you see some people throw food. Like, it's just disgusting how people act.
Unbelievable.
This is why I'll always say that I like animals more than I like any human being, because human beings are just terrible.
Yeah.
They're horrible things. It's just
and like we said, there are more good than bad.
Oh, not absolutely. Everybody. But you just notice the bad, because that's how we're wired.
They're
because we're also
the worst
awful.
of the worst. The worst of the worst.
it's just like, terrible. But you know, I'm very thankful that I've had a job this entire time. I will say that.
Yeah.
I will say that. Too. As much as it's been horrible at times, I'm very thankful that I never was without income, because without income, I can't do any of this. Like, I can't keep my lights on. Yeah. So, it's interesting. But we're in minimum wage work is very different in this country. But I will say, the cost of living in Australia is ridiculous. Ridiculous. The cost of just being alive in Australia. Yeah, we probably get our minimum wage is much higher than you guys. For a full-time adult in any industry, I think it's $23.
That's good.
That's
real good.
But our cost of living is like nearly 2 times than the States.
Is that true? Because it's bad here. At least I'm in an area where it's high. That's high.
Horrible. It's horrible.
That's not good.
Like full-time workers in this country, full-time workers on minimum bare, retail wage are struggling to stay afloat.
Yeah, that's a situation here. And like the thing that's the issue here is minimum wage is by state. So we have 50 states. I don't know if you just have a flat one for the whole country, or if it's so ours is by state, right? So
by the way, I should say, as far as I know, I could be talking out of my ass, but I think it's flat minimum. I think it's a little under 23. I just rounded up. Yeah. I think it's like 22.58 or something bullshit like that. But that's for an adult.
Full-time. I think so if you're a part-time.
Well, no. It goes. No. So part-time and full-time wages. It all relies on age in this country. So I think once you hit 20, you're considered an adult, like a full-time working adult. So once you hit, I think it's 20 or 21. But from the ages of I think the minimum working, I think the you have to be at least. It's weird here. 14 and 9 months is when you can start working. That's the legal age of when you can start working. I know it sounds really weird, but so your wage will start at whatever it starts at, and then it goes up to the minimum wage when you turn. I think it's 20, because it used to be 21, and I think it's gone down because people are saying 18 is the legal age of everything in this country, and they believe that 18 should be the wage. But you know how things work. They negotiate. It's politics, so it just slowly goes down. But I think it's 22.58 or something. That's in the retail industry. I think the minimum wage in hospitality is nearly $27. So, but even still, like I said, the cost of living is very, very high in this country. It's very difficult because everything, by the way, not just rent, electricity, all of that kind of stuff, the cost of import to get anything, because we're so far away from everything in this country. So you've got to remember that we have import charges from the UK, that we have import charges from the US. We're on the opposite side of the world. We're the biggest country. Are we the biggest country in the Southern Hemisphere? I would say we are.
I mean, you got to be with at least one of them.
We're at least the most Western world biggest country in, or maybe because I feel like everything in the southern hemisphere goes to Australia in the sense of like we're the ones that kind of, do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but that's just a complete guess.
I think you guys are number 2. Brazil is technically the biggest country in the southern
People think Australia is this tiny little country because we only have like so many states, but our states are huge. Like we can fit like 6 of your states in one little fucking area of our states. So it is different.
So here,
but anyway, go on.
So the minimum wage thing here is like, so where I live in Massachusetts in the Northeast, minimum wage as of January of next year is going to be going up to $15 an hour.
That is ridiculous to me, by the way.
100. Well, it gets worse. So I live about a 15-minute ride from the border of New Hampshire, which is the state above Massachusetts. Minimum wage in New Hampshire, $8.25.
I've never made that little.
25.
When I was starting at Subway, I think I was still getting like $13 an hour.
Yeah. No.
At 15.
Minimum wage and yeah. My first job was at a grocery store, and it was in New Hampshire, so it was not in Massachusetts. I was 16 years old, so like 40 years ago. That's a joke. But I was 16 years old, and my starting rate was $6.25.
I would say, what's the point of working? $6.25.
Yeah.
See, it's different here, though, because you got to remember. So, say if we're working at a restaurant, you guys have tips. That's not a thing in this country. Tips are not a thing because employers, get this, just pay their staff instead of relying on tips from customers to go to.
You don't have servers making $2.25 an hour like they do over here.
You just
like,
get
you
the
make money on tips.
You don't have tips in this country because they just pay. They pay their employees. I know it's quite the concept, but yeah, like it's not a thing. If I went to America and went to like, I wouldn't even know to tip. You know what I mean? That's not a thing that we do here. We would never have done it. They wouldn't even, if I tried to tip a waiter or a waitress in this country, they'd be like, I can't take your money. Because it would be
is it one of those things like it's illegal? Like not illegal, but like it's just so out of the blue. They'd be like, I don't think it would be.
I don't know if it would technically be illegal, but it would almost be illegal because you're taking bribes from customers. Like if I'm at work,
I'm assuming they would have to file that like under their income, right? Mm-hmm. Like even if it's I mean, tips you have to do that anyway. But like they like
that would
if you don't have a tip system, like it would still just be like, okay, well,
tips are not a thing in this country. They're just not because they pay.
I think a lot of Europe doesn't do that. Like they don't.
I think America may be the only country. America,
because they have to be like different. You said, we pay. Literally, I know people that are servers, and they literally make like $3 or $4 an hour.
That's ridiculous.
And they make their money off of tips. That's how it is.
That is ridiculous.
Yes. So
why the fuck are you doing that?
I don't, because you have to live. You have to live barely, apparent for a lot of people. But like the minimum, and again, I'm not saying this is what people are actually getting hired at.
Yeah.
I think certain companies are like, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But the minimum wage in Wyoming and Georgia, which are the 2 lowest minimum wages in the United States, is $5.15 an hour.
Ridiculous.
That is the legal minimum wage in those 2 states.
I would highly think bullshit.
I would highly think that nobody's hiring at that, because I don't think anybody would go work for that.
If I moved to America, I would be like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. There are meals that you could get. There are meals at certain fast food establishments. That 1 hour of work, you would not be able to afford those meals.
That's ridiculous.
$5.15? No. You go to McDonald's and you get a number 4, $7. Probably.
Australia is really good in the sense of like penalty rates, which if you don't know what that is, it's like if you're working on a weekend or if you're working on public holidays. I don't know what you call it. Just like do you call them bank holidays over there? Public holiday? I don't know what you call them.
Federal holidays.
Yeah, we call them public holidays. So it's like basically, for anyone that doesn't know what that means, like if it's Christmas or if it's Easter or if whatever, we have Queen's birthday over here because obviously Commonwealth, stuff like that. A public holiday, they usually fall on a Monday. They volunteer to you volunteer to work them, but you get paid double time, or you get paid time and a half, or time and a quarter, or so Saturdays, for example, we get paid time and a quarter because it's
every Saturday, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And every Sunday we get paid time and a half because you're working on a Sunday. And then public holidays are double time. And then if you work over certain hours, it's double time and a half. So we are pretty well situated in that respect, which makes me saying it out loud and how you guys have it over there. It makes me very grateful for where I live, to be completely honest. I think I say that on a pretty often. I got absolutely attacked on Twitter the other day for what I said about America, but I don't care because it's how I feel.
Well, I completely missed that. What the hell?
There was a picture of some family holding a bunch of guns. You probably seen that.
Oh yeah.
And I genuinely dislike America because I do. It doesn't mean I hate all Americans. I love a lot of American people. And I'm not saying the whole country is bad. It's just like, I don't think Americans came at me. They were like, this is so awfully harsh. This is not what we're like. I'm like, but you don't understand. That is the image that you portray to the rest of the world. If you ask anybody that isn't American what they think of America, it's everybody gets shot. That's how people view America.
That family.
Are they politicians?
No.
Oh.
So, they're just a regular bunch of losers. Sorry, don't mean to offend anybody, but yes, I do. I don't give a fuck.
I know you don't.
So they're a family of losers. Last year, during our political height, where things were kind of getting a little chaotic with Black Lives Matter and a bunch of other stuff going on, there was a Black Lives Matter rally that was going through their community, and they live in a gated community. And when they saw Black people and brown people, they went, just the mom and the dad, they went into their house and they literally stood on their front lawn with those guns pointing at the people saying, "Don't come on my property." And so that happened, first of all. And what typically happens in this country is half the people see that and they go, "That's repulsive. Why would they do that? Like, what is wrong with these people?" And the other half of the country goes, "They're goddamn heroes. They're heroes."
I just don't understand that.
And that's exactly how this goes. So that family is now famous because of that. And the best part about that, and it's not the best part because that is sarcasm, they released that picture 2 days after we had a school shooting that killed 4 kids.
This is going to sound really awful, but which one? Which school shooting?
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say, like, that's how the rest of the world views America. And I'm not saying that any other country is perfect, because fuck me up. This country is literally built on white people taking over from Aboriginal people. And racism is still very prominent in this country. Horrible stuff like that is still very prominent in this country. But one thing that I will proudly say is that we saw an issue with gun control and said, no. After one shooting in 1996, they said, gun reform, goodbye. And it doesn't mean people don't own guns in this country. Calm down. People still do own guns.
Well,
it's just
that's
very
what half
strict.
The country over here thinks. You're going to take all my guns. No.
People still own guns. I know many people on my street that own guns. It's just a very different system. And you can't just go up to a random store and be like, I'm going to buy that fucking weapon. Yeah. That's not how it operates here. You just have to have a license, and you have to have this a different criteria that you have to meet. And you also get checked a lot by police, and you have to keep certain things. I understand. I understand that's not an easy task, and there's a lot of things, but I'm just saying it from the outside looking in. I'm not trying to attack anybody, and I'm not saying I hate JPJ is literally American, and I do this show with him every week. I talk to majority of Americans in streaming world and in content world and all of that stuff. Americans are not bad people. However, there's a lot of problems within that country that, from the outside looking in, can be fixed, and it's just... I know it's a complicated process to fix certain things.
Yeah.
But America's the biggest country from an entertainment, from an eyes looking in country in the world. There's nothing more important in the level of certain things than America. So you just got to look at it from that perspective. And that's how I see it. And I'm not changing my opinion just because people are attacking me. Trust me. I have had many people attack me for the choices I make in my life. Trust me. But man, did I get attacked by some Americans. I'm like, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying I'm generalizing America here to say that is how I view the States.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary.
Yeah.
You think me coming in, I can walk into a shopping center, into a mall, and not have to worry about that kind of stuff. If I was in the States, I would be constantly on edge that I'm going to get shot. And I think that's a valid, I think it's a valid concern. I do.
Yeah, and we've talked about it on air. I think in my everyday life, I don't have that worry. Like I go to work every day. I go to run my errands, and I don't have that mindset because I've never, in 36 years of living, I've never even seen like a gun pulled. Anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I have a different perspective. But yeah, that's a real thing. Like, and you talk about gun control and things like that. And I know we're going to talk wrestling at some point.
Maybe.
But we started off. Maybe, yeah. Who knows with us? Like, we just kind of get going. When it comes to gun control, it's just never going to be a thing here because there are just too many. First of all, the NRA, the National. I'm not even going to say it right because I mean the National Rifle Association, I believe their name is.
We didn't have that either.
Yeah, the NRA, they pay the politicians billions and billions and billions of dollars to make sure that there's not gun control. So that's part of the reason is one side of things. And again, I'm not going to make this political, but one side of the party, one party has billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
I know.
In ties or
and we're not attacking anyone, by the way. We're not attacking anyone for their political choices and stuff. Like, do what you do. Nope. You all have your reasons why you do something, and that's fine. And also, we're just stating our opinion. I have been very open with the fact that I'm very anti-firearms, and that's fine. If you aren't, that's also fine. But just we're open to, we're not afraid. I guess I'll put a disclaimer at the start of this episode so people kind of know what we're going to talk about, because some people don't talk about it, and that's your prerogative not to talk about it. But I'm just saying, from my point of view, that's how I view it. And I could be looking a little naive. I could be looking because I'm not there and I don't know what it's like. And a lot of Americans have said it's not like that. And that's fine. You live it. You know that it's not like that. But when I see the news every single day that there's someone getting shot, or there's a school or a club or a shopping center or whatever it may be, I have reason for concern of ever visiting that country. And that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And
it's fair.
But there's a lot of great things about America. Holy shit. It's America. It's the fucking...
Yeah, of course.
The Times Square and all the Disneyland and Universal Studios and all the scenery of America. Like, holy shit, what a amazing, beautiful country America is. But like here, there's many things wrong with this country. People are always like, Australia is so beautiful. Australia is not like America. It doesn't have problems like that. No, we have many problems with this country. It is a very racist country. Whether people want to admit it or not, this country is built on racism. And the way that people still treat the indigenous people that own this land, really, that founded Australia, when whoever, Captain fucking whoever, come over and said, I founded Australia. No, Australia was already here. It was Aboriginal people. He come and wiped them out, and
I mean, that's how America started too. So
exactly, but America was, I think, built a little bit more slavery. I think there was that here as well, but I don't think it was as prominent as maybe over there. But there was many other things that was very awful about what they did to the indigenous people of this land. But even still to this day, it's people that don't believe racism is a real thing is a dumb piece of shit. Because I see with my own eyes on a daily basis the way white people look at black people when they walk into a store and they go, "Oh, is that person stealing?" Why? Because they have different color skin than you. That's racism.
Yeah, and
it happens.
And look at, you're talking to an American here that was part last year, I mean,
I could
it's
imagine.
not just last year. It's been
It's
400
forever.
years of
Yeah,
it, because very much, like you just said, Australia was kind of built on racism. America and its systems are built on racism, and still very much an issue. Like I have people that I consider friends that said some stuff last year that was like, excuse me, what are we talking about? And it's just, we have a whole lot of problems over here. Gun control has been one for a long time. Social equality has been one for a long time. Pay equality when it comes to women and men is one that has been a long time. We have a situation going on over here that, in Texas at least, they're about to like openly say that women can't have abortions.
Yeah, and it's a bunch of white men, or like
they'll go to jail. Like they'll go to jail.
It's white men in suits making that fucking thing too.
Yeah,
as a man, as men that we are, we shouldn't even be open to having the conversation of what a woman can do with their body.
No. If one man ever had to give birth to a kid, one man, this conversation and this argument would be over.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
They would go through that and be like, yeah, no, I don't think we should decide what. No. And like, there are people in jail, and again, this is going to get heavy, but
we're not going to talk about wrestling in this episode, because there's no way to talk about this and then just go, oh, I just want to say, I really liked NXT War Games. No, we're not going to talk about wrestling here, guys. We're on this topic, so we're just going to kind of go with this. So sorry, it's not funny this episode.
Yeah, like, it's just bad, man. Like, you're setting a precedent that, like, if a young girl gets assaulted or worse, and she ends up pregnant, you're basically telling her that, hey, sorry that happened to you, but guess what? You're having that fucking kid. You're having that fucking kid. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It really isn't something that should ever be. Men shouldn't be able to comment on it.
Is and so fucked up.
Yeah, it's just dumb.
On a level that it's just like, what? Like, we have people. I don't know how much you pay attention to, like, the stories that are happening in America. I'm sure
I know
a pulse on it, but like, so we had this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, had a big trial a couple of weeks ago. So basically, during one of the riots last year, he drove. He was
that kid that cried, right?
Oh, with that fucking act.
I'm sorry.
Come on, bro.
He cried.
Oh my, embarrassing. I've seen second graders at fucking holiday plays act better than that piece of shit.
Yeah, legit.
But hero, as some people would call him. Crossed state lines, had a gun, went to a rally. Couple kids that were there at the rally saw him, got scared that this kid had a semi-automatic rifle. They ended up getting a skirmish, and he killed 2 people. That's what happened. He got off because he's white.
Yeah.
If that was a black kid, he would have been killed in the street.
Yeah, legit.
But he got off because he's white. Nothing. Like, got off completely. Self-defense, they called it. So he gets off, but yet we have young African-American women in jail for life or a long period of time because they killed their sexual assaulters.
And we should say that we're saying this from a spot of white privilege. Us speaking about this, us being able to speak about this is white privilege. I don't understand when white people are like, I don't treat black people bad. I didn't have slaves, so therefore I shouldn't have to pay the consequences of what my ancestors did or whatever. Okay, yes, all right. We're not pieces of shit. Okay, yes, sure. We're not pieces of shit. But you being able to even state that claim is white privilege. And I have white privilege. You have white privilege, JPJ. We both have white privilege, just being able to... Oh, yeah. We're in a very different spot as too, because we're both males. And we have male privilege. So, okay, yes, there's a little different from...
It's very easy to be a white male in America. It's very, very easy.
And then add on the fact that you're a straight... it is. It definitely is. And then you're a straight white... You're like the antithesis. You're at the top. You're at the top of the fucking chain.
Nobody's bothering me. Nobody's bothering me about anything.
Listen, it's so many things, and we're about to open up a whole can of worms, and I don't care because we're already here. Listen, everyone knows that I've had a pretty awful fucking couple of weeks anyway, so I wasn't really in the mood to have a ha-ha laugh anyway. But we talk about, like, white privilege, we talk about male privilege, we talk about straight people privilege in general, we talk about having money as opposed to not having money, we talk about color of skin, we talk about all of that kind of stuff. Everybody in the world, to a certain degree, has a level of privilege. Everybody in the world. There's different layers to that. Like someone like us, just being white, being males, we have privilege over a white female. And then we have more privilege over a black man and a black woman. And then, you know, we could list things forever. We have privilege on that kind of stuff. We're able to have open conversations without fear of being judged. If this was people of color talking about this, they would be whiners. Shut up. All of this kind of stuff. Because we're two guys with white skin talking about issues that a lot of this stuff we can only imagine. We don't know what it's like to have to be told you can't have an abortion. We don't know what it's like to be protested against because of the color of our skin. Me and you we're different because I know what it feels like to not directly, well, in some cases directly, I won't say not directly, of sexuality. I don't know if you've seen that picture. Did you see that picture circulating around on Twitter of I always get his name wrong. The other the gay guy in The Acclaimed. Anthony Bowens. Anthony Bowens. Did you see that picture?
I like Anthony Bowens, by the way.
Did you see that picture of what was circulating on Twitter of his Twitter account?
No, was it him and his partner though? Because
he's very open.
Very open.
Yeah, he was him in front of a protest of saying a certain politician hates gay people, let's end gay marriage. All these signs, a big protest, and he was kissing his boyfriend in front of it, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, absolutely.
He had that picture go around, and like that's not a nice feeling. I don't really pay that much attention to it because it just makes me angry more so than sad or anything like that. But like, why? He's a public figure, by the way, and he's of color. That's his privilege level is way less than mine because of just because I'm a white person. It is really. It brings out the good and bad in people, all this kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that this wasn't relevant before all this Black Lives Matter stuff happened and is still happening. That's certainly not the case, but it's just been brought to the forefront because that's how trends work. And we were scared. Well, I was scared. I'm like, this is going to be a trend. 2 weeks it's going to go on and then everyone's going to kind of settle down and forget about it. And guess what? It kind of did happen like that for at least from... You know, it's not like it's being talked about all the time like when it was cool and relevant to talk about because there was so much happening. There's still protests, from my understanding, happening on that stuff every day in the States. But now we've also got everybody just seems to protest everything now. It's just, we're just going to protest just because. And then protesting becomes rioting and then it just gets really bad. There's a difference between peaceful and not peaceful, and it's just really, really bad because you've seen anti-vaxxers and you've seen... you know, climate change, and you've seen there's a protest for everything. Every argument for every fucking day, there's a protest for something. It happens here a lot, especially at the moment because we still have a lot of COVID restrictions in this country. So you could imagine every other Saturday, it's like, let's fucking go. Let's go protest. Give us our freedom back. Oh my God, you're taking away our choice. You're not taking away anyone's choice. There's a choice for everything. It's just choices have consequences. So if you choose not to get vaccinated, that's your fucking prerogative. Go for it. You have a right to choose. But your employer also can say, I'm not going to have you work at my store unless you're vaccinated. But it's still your fucking choice, piece of shit.
Yep. 100%.
We're already here, so like, I'm just saying what I feel. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's my opinion. So just calm down, everybody that's going to listen to this and be like, I don't agree. It's fine to not agree. It's what makes the world go round.
It's okay for you not to agree.
But
yeah, it is 100% okay for you not to agree.
I don't speak for JPJ. He doesn't speak for me when we talk about this, but I'm very much open about the fact that I encourage people to go get vaccinated. I'm very much open about the fact that I am very anti-gun. I'm open to the fact that I'm very aware of what's going on in the world with people of color, with different sexualities, with trans people, with everything that happens in that area. I'm very aware of the fact that I'm treated differently because I'm a white male as opposed to a white female or people of color or anything. I'm also very aware of the fact that I am ridiculed and often treated sometimes better because I'm a gay man. Because people are like, I want to own some clout here and you're gay, so I'm going to use you to get ahead and make myself look good. That also happens. And sometimes to me, that's worse than being told, I hate gay people. It's a really odd feeling to be used just because you're gay. And that happens in the content world too, people, is sometimes people will ask you to come on their show and then be like, look how great I am for having someone in the LGBTQ plus community just on because I'm so great.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I've had many different conversations with women in the content world and in the wrestling community of just being because the fact that women, they want them a part of their stuff because they're a woman and they want to feel a certain like, look at me, I have a woman.
It's wild.
And that people, I don't know why people are so oblivious to the fact that, like, I've had so many conversations, especially when I first came out, about people like, homophobia isn't real anymore, so you don't get it. Excuse me? Homophobia, racism, sexism, it's still all fucking real. Transphobia, it's still it's more real than maybe ever, in my opinion, to be completely honest, because all of this has just brought out the crazies in the world that are like, you know what? Yeah, I do actually fucking hate black people, and I do hate gay people, and I do hate trans people, and they shouldn't have rights, and they shouldn't have this. It's like, I don't understand. Like, people are like, oh my God, but you have every privilege that you could want as a gay person. Bitch, I didn't even know it was possible to get married in this country until 2017. That is ridiculous. That is actually ridiculous to think. I know it wasn't that much earlier for you guys, but 2017.
We weren't that far ahead of you.
2017. That was literally, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And for me, it's like you kind of hinted at it a few times. Like, for me, it's just like, when it comes to like privilege, right? We're not, you had mentioned a little while back where you were like, oh, people say like, why do I have to pay for what my ancestors, like, it wasn't me, blah, 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 blah. It's like, we're not asking you, like, we're just asking
acknowledge
bare
it.
Minimum.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge that it's there.
Yeah.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge. And the majority of people don't.
They turn a blind eye to it and I don't get it.
Yeah, they're just like, no, it's not. No. And it's like, dude, if you can't even acknowledge it, like, come on, man. And then, obviously you've had to deal with things being a gay man that I will never have to deal with being a straight man. But it's the same stuff. Oh, the Black Lives Matter, that, it's not real. It's just it's all this. Like, it's not
media induced.
Dude,
I fucking hate that.
The media created it. It's like, okay, well, the media might have fed into it. Yeah.
Media is the problem too.
They didn't create it. It was created by good people with good hearts because they're tired of seeing the same shit over and over again for 300 years.
Yeah.
And then the media doesn't create it, doesn't do all that. The media does what the media does, and they prop it up and they build it up and they feed it to fit. One side feeds it to fit the agenda that they're going over here. The other side I'm not saying the media is innocent here. No, the media makes things worse most of the time.
They do, 100%.
Because of the way it's handled.
Look at COVID.
So, like,
they feed into that kind of thing.
We had a pandemic that was worldwide that was killing 1 million people. And in America, the main argument was Democrats want to shut down everything and the Republicans want everything to be open. We shouldn't live in fear. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. The story here is hundreds of thousands of people are dead.
Yeah.
Died.
Yeah.
All last year.
Yep.
That's a story. I don't care whether you think businesses should have shut down or whether you don't. I feel terrible for those people that lost businesses during it. Like, that sucks. I can't imagine saving up your life savings to create your own business and then something out of your control takes that away from you. That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. But at the same time, if you can prevent people from getting sick and dying, you need to do whatever you can to prevent people from getting sick or dying.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
it. That's it. 100%. I understand it might make life more complicated. It might make life a little harder. Trust me, like I still have to go to work and wear a mask for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I don't want to wear a mask anymore.
No, me either.
Okay? I'm done wearing a mask. I'm a big dude. I breathe heavy. Like I don't want to fucking wear a mask anymore. But guess what? My job requires me to. And even if it didn't, I probably still will. I see like 2,000 people a day.
Yeah.
Like you know? And it's one of these things where vaccinations, all this stuff, like the things that we need to do as a community, not a Republican community, not a Democratic community over the United States, as human beings, all living on this planet together. The thing we need to do is like take care of each other somewhat, kind of. Like that's how things should work. And I'm just like, I'm tired of seeing so many people just not give a shit. And for me, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying not give a shit as in like, you need to get back to life. You need to get back to life. On my days off, I go do things.
Yeah.
I don't sit at home like scared or anything like that. Like, and that's another thing that they openly say, oh, over here. They go, you're a snowflake. You're a snowflake. Yeah. You let the government tell you how to live your life. No, I fucking don't. No, I don't. I don't tell the government how to live my life at all. But if the person that runs the state that I live in says, hey, COVID's on the rise, so this is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing. Guess what? I follow the rules.
Yeah.
I follow the rules because you know what? When I was a fucking 5-year-old, I was told to follow the fucking rules.
Yeah. 100%.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
what I do.
100%.
It's not nobody fucking, you let them walk all the way. No. They're telling me people that went to school.
It's the fucking law at the moment. It's
20
the law.
years. Yeah, like people that went to school that are fucking scientists and doctors went to school for their whole friggin' life are telling me, based on science and fact, what we should do. Guess what? I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to listen to the guy on YouTube who graduated high school with a 2.1 GPA. I'm not doing that.
It's not.
I'm listening to the fucking doctor.
It's
like, what are we talking about? It's real simple.
It's fucking apples and ice cream. Like it's two fucking different things. You know what I mean?
I just don't understand. Like, basically, I just don't understand what the fuck happened. Like, what happened to society?
I don't know either. The society in this era, in this time, just goes from one extreme to the other. There's no middle ground with anything. And it's like either you're with me or you're against me. There's no meeting in the middle anymore. And I do it as well. I know I do it as well because society is just like that. It's like you have to be on this side or I'm not saying politically. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But like you have to be with these people. You have to be against these people. There's no like, let's meet in the middle and actually listen to each other's thoughts, whether we agree or disagree. Like, there's some lines that I draw. Like, I'm not going to be friends with someone who's an open fucking racist, but also, like, I can listen to people on views on, okay, I get vaccinated. Why don't you get vaccinated? Is there a reason why you're not getting vaccinated? Is there some kind of medical reason why you're not getting vaccinated? Are you out there protesting saying we shouldn't be? You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's like COVID and Black Lives Matter and all of this stuff that's been going on in the last couple of years has drawn this massive fucking divide in people. And there just seems to be no middle ground with how people operate anymore. And I've fed into it, and I know I've fed into it, and it's hard to stop. But it's a nightmare. Cancel culture and everything like that on top of that. Because I believe in calling people out for what they're doing wrong. But sometimes people, I'm not talking about like people that are like murderers or rapists or stuff like that. Like they should be cancelled for life. Okay, yeah. But like sometimes people say things and now they're being accounted for forever for the littlest, tiniest thing because they said one wrong thing wrong and they've apologized and they've come and said, hey, I said this, I've owned up to it, but now they're being kind of just, they're like, well, they can never be in anything ever again. Again, I'm not talking about racists. I'm not talking about people like that. They deserve to be treated like dirt, and they deserve to be owned for what they said.
Excommunicated.
But like the slightest little things now people say, and there people are like, okay, so I don't know if you're aware of who this person is, just because there is a little bit of an age difference, but do you remember Jenna Marbles from YouTube?
I don't.
Okay, so she's one of the biggest female, one of the biggest YouTubers ever. She started in like 2010, and she was one of those like OG ones that was actually starting to make a career out of YouTube. She'd make a video every week. Sweetest girl, like she always was just there for a laugh, always trying to do the right thing. She got cancelled, essentially. She ends up cancelling herself and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. People were coming at her because she was friendly on camera with people who did end up doing really bad things.
Bad shit.
And she was like, why am I getting destroyed because of who I've had on my podcast? I didn't know that they were doing these bad things. I didn't know that this was like this. So why am I getting ridiculed over simply because I was by association? They weren't like on a video together every week. They had done a few videos together, and they had mentioned each other here and there because they're in the world of YouTube. They probably see each other at festivals and conventions, and they know each other. They were two of the biggest YouTubers ever. And she had like this video that she owned up to and said, hey, this was wrong. I did something wrong. It wasn't even bad. And this was in 2020, June, I think, maybe July. And she said, I don't know how long I'm going to be gone for, but I can't do this anymore because it's just too hard. And she hasn't come back since. She's no longer on the internet in any form. She doesn't have Twitter. She doesn't have TikTok. And I think she was at like 25 million subscribers, and she had bought it. Like she was a millionaire because of YouTube. Yeah. And she was one of the sweetest people who know who Jenna Marbles is when I say that name. And she was like what I grew up on. She was like the OG YouTube gang. You know what I mean? Like the ones that kind of started what, when now everybody is on YouTube and they're, making money and stuff like that. But like she was one of the ones that did it. I think she was at one stage, she was the highest subscribed solo female act on YouTube. Like that's a pretty big deal. Jenna Marbles, yeah. You might know her face when you see her.
I'll probably see her. Yeah, when I see her picture, I bet you I'll be like, oh, all right, I think I know.
She made like little dumb videos, and like they were just random little things, just something to make you laugh every single Wednesday/Thursday, as she would say. She's the best. I still watch her to this day. She's very funny, and I didn't even know. The thing with her is I truly didn't even know that she was being canceled,
like ridiculed or canceled.
Canceled.
So for me, when it comes to cancel culture, there's a direct line in the sand. There's a line in the sand for me. Like some people, they automatically throw that word around. They'll be like, "Oh, cancel culture." It's like, no. This one, that's consequences.
Yeah.
There's a difference. You say something stupid, you do something stupid.
100%.
There are consequences. If I say something inappropriate at work, guess what? I'll probably lose my job if it's inappropriate enough, or I'll get in trouble for it, right?
Yeah.
There are consequences to what you do. However, if I said something stupid 15 years ago when I was a 21-year-old idiot, human beings are allowed to grow.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Like we grow all the time. Like I can't imagine what the hell I was saying routinely,
oh my God,
regularly when I was a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid.
I'm glad I wasn't on camera.
Like you are, it's not a word that I use anymore at all, but like I used to refer to like things that were stupid or dumb as gay when I was younger.
I did too.
Not good. Not a good thing, but I would be like, oh, something bad would happen. Not bad, but like something stupid would happen. And I'd be like, oh, that's gay.
Yeah, no, I used to do it as well. It says it right here on the shirt. I used to say that word it used to be every other sentence because that's what society was doing. And she was getting cancelled over not that word, but something as little as that. People were coming for it. And this was like, they were digging. They were digging and digging and digging. So people are actively trying to go, someone's successful? I'm going to take them down.
Someone's successful and I'm not. Let's take them down.
And it wasn't bad. Trust me, it was not bad what she was doing. It's just I'm glad. I've said horrible things.
We've all said and probably done dumb shit in our lives.
And these public figures are public, so
yes, we were either young and didn't know any better, or we were just ignorant or whatever. Like, nobody's perfect. We've all said and done dumb,
horrible things.
However, as people, you need to grow.
Yeah.
And you need to, as you grow up in real life, you grow other ways too. And like somebody that said something 10 years ago, again, there's different levels of what can be said. Duh. If something's like really horrendous, then you kind of get what you get. You kind of get what you
absolutely
deserve. But like if you said something stupid, like I don't know what she said, but if you said something like not great, but it was really not that bad.
Yeah.
10 years ago, like,
come the fuck on.
She's a different person now.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that her 10 years later after making that comment or whatever, 8 years later, is a different human being.
And she like made a video and owned up to everything that she said or everything that she did. I can't remember the actual context of what everything that was done. It wasn't that much. To be fair, it was like an 8-minute apology video. So you could imagine the little amount of stuff that she actually did. She made some video as well where she had a little bit too much tan on and people were saying that she was doing blackface. And she's like, I own up and it's horrible, but it was 2009 and at that time, that wasn't... She said she worked at a tanning salon, so she was tan, and people were like, it's disrespectful. Fair. And she owned up and said, hey, if that's disrespectful right now, I apologize for that. But that effectively ended her career as a public figure. She's done.
That's wild. That's wild.
And like I said, she hasn't been back since. And I'm not saying that she was... whatever, things happen and she apologized and she owned up to everything. But like, what the fuck is... Again, the world goes to extremes. There's no middle ground anymore for allowing people to make mistakes. If you make a mistake, you're effectively done. You're done now.
Yeah.
There's no...
100%.
There's no... The internet is a great, wonderful place, but it is also a horrible place at the same time. There's obviously pros and cons to everything. But right now, social media, again, it can be a great place, but it also can be awful. It really makes me worried for people, the generation below me.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I agree with you. I think social media can be a great place, and you do see a lot of good things on social media, but I think social media...
It's a toxic environment.
Ooh, I think social media is one of the main reasons why we are kind of in the state that we're in.
Oh, 100%.
Here's the thing. There's always been morons, and there's always been bad people.
But it's different because it used to be like, it would be like, oh, but it's just my neighbor Jeff. Now my neighbor Jeff is on Twitter.
Jeff has a Twitter.
And he's everywhere.
Now Jeff has a Twitter.
And he's everyone's
he can just
neighbor.
Say whatever he wants, and he thinks his opinion is important.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, because your neighbor Jeff is now everyone's neighbor Jeff. Everyone knows
Correct.
Jeff.
And he thinks that everyone gives a shit about what he has to say, when in reality, nobody fucking does. But he thinks that everyone gives a shit about what he has to say. And he thinks now that he has a platform that his opinion...
It's like golden, yeah.
When, guess what? In the scheme of things, it doesn't.
We don't matter.
Like, in the scheme of things, my opinion doesn't matter. Josh's opinion doesn't matter. In the scheme of things, besides the people that matter to us and the people that we matter to, our opinions and things like that don't matter. They do not matter. But when you have a platform that makes you think that your opinion does, that's where the issue is. There's always 100%. Been crazy people. There's always been evil people. There's always been just stupid, dumbass people.
Yep.
But back then, you didn't have to hear every thought that the racist crazy person down the street said. You didn't have to see constant videos of fights and murders and all these things, because
that's the scary part of social media.
That records a video.
We literally watch people get murdered now. Like, people should not be watching that taking that at all.
And we become so numb from it that you can watch a video like what happened. And again, I'm not bringing this up for the political side of it. But you can watch a video of what happened to George Floyd last year. Watch a guy get killed.
Yeah.
All over the news, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, just a video of a guy just getting killed on the street.
You watch a murder.
And we watched it like it was nothing. We watched it like
we watched a live stream of the Christchurch shooting in New Zealand. He live streamed it on fucking YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. And there are people that watch that and we're just watching it like you're watching fucking
in real time.
CSI, like you're just watching CSI, like it's like on your phone. It's like, no, that's real.
It's what is happening in the world is really, really. The world is such a dark place when it wants to be. There's light, and again, we're always going to focus on bad more than we focus on good. Of course, there's many great things that come from the internet. It's one of the greatest joys of the world. We use it nearly every minute of every day. We're using the internet in some capacity, but like we've come adapted to this. We've come adapted to this. I'm looking at 4 screens at the moment.
Yeah.
There's not a time in day where I'm not either on a screen or thinking about when I'm going to be on a screen again. We've become adapted to these things. And hey,
dependent.
We're dependent on it completely. If you lose your phone, if I lost my phone right now, I wouldn't be able to do anything until I get a phone in my hands. Because who am I going to, how can I let the world know what I'm doing? Because that's how we're wired now. Everybody lives, and I do it, everybody lives on social media. Your life on social media is nearly as important as your life in the quote unquote real world. It's nearly more important to kind of let the world know what's going on. So, and we both do it. I'm probably a little bit more extreme than you do, just because I've had this since I grew up with social media.
Yeah,
I was the first generation.
Have one of these. Yeah, I didn't have one of these.
I remember having
I was
Facebook
like 17.
Exactly. Yeah. So like my generation was the first. We were like the guinea pigs of.
Well, I was going to say, when Facebook first came out, I wasn't allowed to have one because I didn't go to college, and you needed a college email to get it.
I remember the first day I got Facebook. I was 13. I was 13 when I got Facebook, and I shouldn't have been on social media at that age. You literally see the worst stuff on Facebook, and I mean Facebook. I think MySpace I had first, and then Facebook. But
I loved MySpace.
I didn't. I was on the back end of MySpace because I was just at that age. But
they had the music on there was just
top tier. But it's like just we were like the guinea pigs of like what what is going to work, what's not going to work, who can be on this, and then I just think of even my little brother being on all of these platforms now, and I'm like, you can see what I see.
He's 12, right? He's 12.
He's 12 tomorrow. So he's happy birthday. Happy birthday, Zach. He not that he gives a fuck what I'm doing. But he like to think that if I'm seeing these videos of animals getting abused and people getting murdered and assault and fights, he's also being able to be, at least maybe not seeing it, but he definitely has the access to be able to see it.
Oh yeah.
So
probably people younger than him too, sadly.
Which is just crazy. And I see kids now running around and doing all these things on social media, and like some of the stories you hear of what kids are capable of, it's all, I'm not saying it's social media's fault, because it's not. To a certain, people like to have blame games and say it's Facebook's fault. That's not necessarily the case. It's the people allowing, I don't know if even parents know, because the parents of my generation were not on social media when they were kids, so they don't know what to monitor, what to look for. I think a good thing about social media growing is that now people my age are having children and they're knowing what they grew up with. So they're like, I want to make my child aware of that, because I don't think you should shield people from that, because this is the real world and you're going to face that at some stage. But I'm not a parent, so please don't come at me for parenting skills. But at least from my understanding, I have people around me that are 25, 26, 27, and they're having children, and they're going, okay, there's going to come a time when they get a phone. There's going to come a time where they go on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat. How do I make them aware of what the world is around them instead of shielding them? I think that's what a lot of what my parents did, was try to shield me and try to convince me that it wasn't a real thing, but it is a real thing. When people say social media isn't real, I don't really understand that, because it is. It's a part of you. Sure, people put up a brand and they put up a certain way they like to be on social media, but it's still a chunk of you, and it's one of the biggest parts of your life. For the most, I'm not saying everybody, but for most people, you're on social media in some way, shape, or form. So I think just education is what we need to. It should be taught in schools, from my opinion.
There's a lot of things that should be taught in schools
that you didn't learn.
I graduated high school at 18 years old. I don't go to college, right? I go in the workforce. I didn't take one class on how to build credit. I didn't take one class on what credit means. Nope. Like why do you need good credit? How do you build good credit?
How do you do taxes?
Anything like that?
How do you do, how to buy a house?
Taxes? Yep. None of that
should be like a life class where
you
you just learn about life. Like, sure, I'm not saying that other things in school aren't important, because they are. You should do English and your math and all of that kind of stuff. Sure. But there should be like a life class where you learn how to do,
live,
how to write a check, how to open a bank account, how to teach you about social media and the dangers and the benefits from it, because there's a lot of benefits. It should be all of this, just learning about life in general, because I think it's kind of doing everybody a disservice, because they're just kind of like, figure it out for yourself. Like, I still don't know 100%. What I'm fucking doing. And I'm a fully grown adult.
Most of us don't, I think most of us don't.
Like, the longest, I didn't know, like, I don't know the process of buying, like, when I first bought a car.
Yeah.
That's a daunting experience, going and buying a car. Yeah. I had to take my parents with me. I remember it being like, you need to talk to these people, because I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, because that's like a thing with paperwork, and you're buying, that's a lot of money.
Sign your life away. You got to put down payment.
And then also getting a loan and getting, owing the bank, and the consequences of not paying a loan and being in debt, and then paying
rate, and make sure this is the right thing.
Because you don't know. If I didn't have my parents there, I would have been like, the bank would have said, here, have this interest rate. And I've been like, fuck yeah,
cool.
Sure. No worries. And then you just pay it.
Same thing, like, in the next couple years, I would like to buy a house. Right now, I have a nice apartment. I have no complaints, but like, I would like to think about or be on the preface of buying a house within the next year and a half. I have no fucking idea what it takes to buy a house.
Nope.
None. And I'm a person in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
And I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what even the beginning of the process on how to buy a house
And it's scary. It's daunting.
That's partly my fault, I guess. But it's also partly like,
where do you go to ask for that information?
Correct. I'm going to go to my mom. I'm going to ask my mom, all right, hey, when you and dad bought your first, like, what'd you do? Give me some tips. Like, what should I be doing? Like, I know that, like, I have to have a decent amount of money saved away. I know that I need to have a decent credit. Like, I know things like that, but I don't know do I just find a house in the friggin' online and go, I want to buy that. And I just figure, like, I don't know the whole like, and the only way I'm going to know is, you brought your parents with you when you bought your car. Like, yeah, I'm going to probably call my mom and be like, all right, I want to do this. Like, what are the steps? What do I need to do?
Come with me. Hold my hand.
40 in 4 years.
It's
you know what I mean? Like, what the hell are we talking about? Like,
I was watching from afar as like my sister got married, and I was like, to me in my head, I'm like, oh, you just get married.
Oh
God, that process she's going through now. My sister just
got married not long ago either,
and
so it's
a process. Looking at that from afar, I'm like, what is the point of this bullshit? Like, that's so many steps, so much money. All the legal things that you have to do, like, obviously, and then she's got on top of it that she had to change her name, and that's a fucking process of applying to change your name and everything like that. I couldn't imagine.
Marriage license.
Oh my God! Because I just thought, you just. I know this sounds dumb.
Say I do to each other, and
you're married,
and you're good to go.
But like, she was telling me, like, my mum was with us yesterday, and she was like, oh, so it's still processing. It'll take 3 to 6 weeks to process this. The file to actually be married, and then I've got to do like another application to change my name, and then I've got to change my name and all my government things, and then go through all the identity processes of that. Like, oh my God, like, what a process, like, to do all of that. Like, that just seems like,
and that's not even talking about planning the wedding, spending money to do the wedding. That's all the other stuff. And then
it's a mess.
Let's find a venue. Let's pick a date. We got to pick a cake. We got to pick the food.
And then they had COVID on top of that.
Fucking money.
They had COVID on top of that.
COVID's still happening.
Like they didn't know whether they were going to be able to even have the wedding at one stage because of our COVID restrictions and who can come and how many people can be there and can they wear? Do they have to wear masks? Do they have to be seated? And it's so odd. But it's been a whole process.
It's like that with everything. Like, you know, I don't want to bring it down, but like my dad passed away, 9-10 years ago because of cancer. And me being naive, I was like, oh, well, you know, when you die, you have a funeral, and then that's kind of it, right? You're not around anymore. No. Like the amount of paperwork and things and that my mom had to fill out. She needed to have all his, Social Security, all his money from his jobs, his pension. Like there was so much stuff that she had to do that wasn't even having a funeral. It was all these other things, like, filling out paperwork, forms, all this stuff. And I was just like, what is like, that's just so much stuff to do.
Trust me, I'm going through that process right now. And, losing my everyone, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm recording this a day after, but early hours of yesterday morning, my grandpa passed away. He was really sick. It wasn't a thing that was unexpected. He had dementia. It was awful. It was like the last 3 years of just kind of waiting for him to pass away. As awful as that sounds, I wish it would have happened a lot sooner because he was in a lot of pain. So I'm not happy that he's gone, but I'm thankful that he's no longer in that pain. So I just thought, like, okay, so now he's passed. It's time to grieve and all that kind of stuff, which I'm currently in the process of doing. So I apologize if I cry, but like going through that process of like, so what happens now? Like, because my grandpa was very kind to us. There's 5 grandkids that he has, and a lot of his inheritance and stuff like that bypasses his own children and goes to all the grandkids because that's the way he wanted it. And then going through that process, because not that I'm, at all involved in the process too much, because my nana's kind of doing that and my dad and everything like that. But because we're included in these kind of things, we have to be included in the conversations of like, okay, this goes and it happens and this part of the inheritance and everything like that. It's a lot, especially on the top of everything, because there's no time in between the passing and then what do you do with the body? And then when is the funeral going to take place? And then it's all I've never dealt with this kind of, I've never had an immediate family member pass away before. So I don't know what this process is like. It's not like it's familiar to me. And as I know this sounds, some people do and some people don't, whatever you want to do, however you deal with this, is you don't really think about the after of the actual death. Like you just think, okay, they're going to die. I'm going to cry. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to do all this. And yes, sure, that happens, but you also then have to your life doesn't just stop also just because this happens. You still have to deal with life and you still have to deal with everything like that and organization, because all you want to do is just shut off and go, I don't want to deal with any of this, but it all wants to still deal with you. So, and I deal with grief really, everyone grieves really differently. I don't necessarily get sad. I get more angry. I don't know why. It's just how I deal with grief. It just turns into anger. Because I'm not a very angry person, but for some reason this brings out my angry side. And sometimes I just don't want to be around human beings. And I'm like, can you please just leave me the fuck alone? Of course, I've cried and I've cried and I've cried. I don't think it's possible to even cry anymore. I kind of alluded to the fact that shit was happening last week and a lot of stuff happened. And this was kind of the tip of the iceberg. And we got a call Friday and just kind of said like, hey, this is happening. You might want to come and see him and say goodbye. I didn't really want to see him in the state that he was in, because you don't want to see someone practically not alive. Like, for all intents and purposes, he was just breathing. He was just a body that was just happened to be breathing. So it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but of course it's hard. But this whole process has been hard, and then to come out and, it happened in the early hours of yesterday morning, and then to have to, I put it on social media because that's how we live our lives on social media. That's how I deal with things. And it's just easier sometimes, instead of people asking you why you're a little bit off or why you're not streaming or why you're not doing this or why you're not doing that. It's just like, here, just have this, and then I'm just going to dip for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of do my thing.
Yeah, you know? So it's just a little bit easier. But thank you for everyone that's reached out. By the time this drops, will be a few days, and I'll probably hopefully be back and making very inappropriate TikToks on TikTok, which I love to do. And I just, TikTok, people can say what they want about TikTok. I don't give a fuck. That has been the greatest distraction of my life in the last couple of days, is just to go on TikTok and laugh at fucking dumb ass shit. Just the dumbest of dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm just having a field day on it. And I talk about wrestling a lot, how it's the stupidest thing in the world, but wrestling has been such a fucking good time for me since Friday. Trust me. I've just been like, I don't want to think about anything. I want to put my phone down and I'm just going to watch wrestling. NXT was on yesterday and it was the greatest 3-hour distraction of my life. I just got to watch NXT and watch a damn good show, by the way. NXT War Games was really, really good. See, NXT 2.0 is not fucking the end of NXT, everybody. So shut the fuck up. I said that on.
That was the original.
I said that on Between Two Beards last week. I had that rant in me on Unhinged, and I was like, "Hey, bitch, it's not the end of NXT because it isn't."
No.
And we're not going to cap this off by talking about wrestling because it's not the right time to talk about wrestling. But I'm just saying it was a good show and it was a good distraction for what I've been going through the last few days. And I'm not saying that anybody's life is worse than, fuck off. It's just my situation this last weekend and this last week has just been very difficult. But I'm getting through it and I'm sure I'll be fine on the other side of things. But I wanted to make sure I did this show this week because it was a nice hour and a bit of just not thinking about that kind of stuff. Sometimes you just need to zone out. It's not selfish. People grieve how you want to grieve, but sometimes you just need to just not think about the only thing you've been thinking about, because I've had no sleep.
Correct.
I've had nothing. Like, it's not really been the easiest. I live alone, so I'm just here with my thoughts and, thankful for the family around me and stuff like that have been there. But it's not a fun process. I'll say that. It's definitely not a fun process to go through. No, but everyone's going to go through it and experience it at some point in their life. So, it is interesting what your body requires of you and how your mind works. And I've been kind of a bit more opening to listening to what my body is telling me and saying, hey, do this, and just reacting on that instead of, because you have this kind of idea in your brain of this is how you're going to react and I'm going to do this. And I don't know. I didn't feel the feelings I thought I was going to feel, which is really interesting. It's just interesting how your body works. Your body is a wonderful thing. It can tell you all you need to know without even in a physical sense of someone telling you, hey, sit down. Like, sometimes it's just your body just simply going, hey, have a bath. Hey, just sit down. Hey,
relax.
Have a drink of water.
Take a breather.
Yeah, like just do something dumb. You know what I mean? Like just it's interesting. But, it's all I'll be all fine, everybody. But thank you for everyone's kind words, because it is nice to hear regardless of the situation. But we're about 5 minutes out from Raw, and this is going to sound like a fucking crazy person talking, but I want to watch Raw because this may age really poorly, but I could really use something good happening, and Liv Morgan winning the Raw Women's Champion, or just Liv Morgan having a performance that
banger match
just puts her on the map and goes, maybe this is what we want to see from Liv Morgan, because sometimes losing is the best thing that can happen to a professional wrestler.
I was just going to say people have been made in losses.
And Liv Morgan has an opportunity, and Liv and Becky are two very talented. Becky Lynch, people want to say what they want about her at the moment, and people are like, Becky Lynch is the be-all, end-all of wrestling at the moment.
She put a tweet out, I want to say either over the weekend or late last week, where she said for the last 2 years, so she was obviously gone.
She's had like 500 active days as champion.
Yes, because her last day she was still the champion, and when she came back, she won the title right away. So she's had like 500 or 600, some
500 plus
number.
days.
Yeah, like her active days. Every time that she's been there, she's been the champion.
And she hasn't been beaten in one-on-one competition since WrestleMania 35. She hasn't lost a single match, like a singles match.
Yeah,
so that is absolutely just wild to me. You know what I mean? Like that she hasn't or it hasn't been beat clean or something like that.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been beat clean.
Something like that.
It's one of those. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if.
But regardless of anything, the girl has not been beat a lot in these 500 plus days as champion. And again, whether Liv, we're going to, obviously by this time this airs, it'll all be out and we could be talking out of our ass because who knows with WWE, it might just be like a stupid fucking 26-second match. But Liv Morgan has an opportunity to go from Liv Morgan to Liv Morgan and kind of state her claim as like, I'm a part of this too. Whether I win or lose, it doesn't matter. But I just want a nice star-making performance. I've been talking about Liv Morgan for a long damn time. I have been on that Liv Morgan train for a long time, and I just want somebody new. I'm not saying that Liv Morgan is the greatest greatest wrestler in the world. There's people that are better workers than her for sure. But she's different. She's fresh. She's young. WWE are all about this young kind of new kind of talent. Liv Morgan is not an indie star. She is a WWE built star. She is listen, from a aesthetic standpoint, you can put the girl on a poster and I'm pretty sure it'll sell some tickets. She's different. She's not really like anyone they've had before. She's a good talker too. She cuts a nice little mean promo. I was like, okay. A lot of people got on her and a lot of people got on Edge for what they said about the releases. And I understand the argument for both, but I like real stuff. And guess what? Ruby and Sarah are no longer in WWE. So what, are we just going to not ever talk about it? They're not. They're not there. They got released. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a thing that happened and everybody is aware of it and everyone craves for reality with WWE instead of being this cartoonish, kid-friendly bullshit that everyone says that they are. Well, you got it. You got some element of real. And whether it's coming from a bad place or not, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. AEW do it all the time with that. Of course, they're not releasing talent, but they pull from negative spots. So I don't understand why Liv Morgan and Edge can't do it. By the way, Edge and Miz was not sold on it. By the end of that promo, I was like, holy fuck, give me Edge and Miz all damn fucking day. Edge is just a master. And I mean, Miz doesn't get his credit for how good he is because he also cut a great promo. But we're in Rumble season very soon, and that really makes me excited. But like I said, Liv Morgan, I'm hoping for a good performance, whether it's win or loss. I'm on team Liv all the damn way.
I mean, if she were able to pull up a big upset and actually win the thing, that would just be what a moment that would be. It's not what I'm expecting, but that would be amazing.
I'm not expecting it
like
either.
You said, like the way that I'm thinking is after the match, even if it's in a loss, like make me believe that Liv Morgan's going to win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, just do something. Do something.
Make me believe that she is a main eventer here to stay. This is how we're going to treat her from now on. We know we have something here. Make me see that and make me believe it. Because people like you and me,
100%.
We already know that and we believe in her already. And we've been kind of you longer than me, but we've both been on the Liv Morgan train for a while now.
Yep.
Now we want to see them acknowledge that like they're also on the Liv Morgan train and that they're going to back this talent of theirs and be like, okay, we have something here.
100%.
She could be the biggest babyface woman star they have. Like she's different. Like you said, she's different. She's new.
I think so too.
You watch they have a thing on the network or Peacock or wherever, like on her that they released last year. Like
it was really good.
Watch that. It was very good. And you watch that and you kind of see where she came from and how she was raised and things like that. And you're like, this is someone that people want to root for. People will root for this.
She's relatable. She's the girl next door.
You just have to make people root for her. And we know they can do it. They've done it a million times before. Just do it.
Just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. Just do something different for once. And I don't think people are going to shit on it, to be completely honest, because a lot of people seem to be behind Liv because she's different. She's new. Yeah. She's not the same old. So let's hope for that. But regardless, you're not going to go watch Raw. You got some football to watch. But
I got a big American football game. I got a black eye.
I've got some Raw to watch. All of that kind of stuff. There's, it is a lot of. It's been a big week, but I'm ready to just tap out for a few hours and watch some wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And eat some really shitty food. I'm gonna order some.
Sometimes that
Uber
helps
Eats
cure
and
it, man. That helps
just get
cure
some
it. That helps
crappy
cure it
ass
sometimes.
fucking food and
yeah.
just eat until my little stomach cannot take it anymore. That's how I feel today. So, but yeah, when I might be back streaming by the time this airs, but if I'm not, I'm sure I'll be back within the next few days, getting some stuff happening. Yeah. Other than that, you know where to follow me. Our Twitter handles are all over the screen if you're watching this, whatever it may be, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, because you can get the video version on Spotify as well, whether you're listening to this, all that good stuff, you know what to do. Rate us 5 stars, like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. That's all the standard stuff. We will be back next week, probably with a little less of a heavier episode, and we might talk about Christmas or something. I don't know. We weren't really expecting to get too heavy today. That's the way of this show, though. That's the way of the show, as you know. You got Between Two Beards coming up, I would assume, all of that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. By the time people are seeing this, it'll be tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. Love wrestling, yeah, Between Two Beards. So we have a special guest tonight, a stand-up comedian. So
funny.
Yeah, Blake.
I'm sure it'll be a little bit more funny than this episode of this particular show.
I think so.
Yeah, if you got a stand-up comedian on there.
Yeah, no. Hopefully we'll have the laughs.
Hopefully.
So,
who knows?
Yeah. But other than that, I know. But other than that, you can catch me here next week doing our thing here. So
yeah. Again, thank you for all the love for me this week. It's much appreciated. Thank you to the team also at Love Wrestling. They've also been very kind to me. Spencer has not he's just, you know how Spencer operates. He is very much like, this is not important in the grand scheme of things of like what's going on in your own life. So just do you and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, I'm always terrible at doing outros to this show, so it's just easy to say goodbye, and we'll see you next Thursday here on the J&J Power Hour. See ya, everyone.